feel beauty rising.
Hi, my name is Sue Skaskiw with Vermont Volunteer Services for Animals Humane Society, and welcome to our show For the Animals. Today we have a very different episode to offer, and I think you're going to find it really interesting. I've recently met Ildiko Kudlik. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Say it properly. Say your name properly.
Ildiko Kudlik.
Okay, from Hungary, and her passion is about people about all ages, race, gender, or nationality. Having traveled extensively and supported hundreds of people worldwide for the past 15 years makes her an expert in the field of personal development. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the United States.
Thank you. I feel welcome.
And Ildiko is from Hungary. And the way we know each other is through my brother-in-law, who is also another world traveler.
Yes, and also a trainer and a coach.
That's right.
We share that passion as well.
Yep. You know what? Every single person I've ever met through Will is very interesting. And that's not giving it any sort of, I should be able to go on and on, but very interesting, worldly, spiritual people. I love them. Anyways, welcome. So personal development via creativity and art. Okay, using your artistic skills in the process, you focus mostly on creating a creative life filled with passion and commitment, not only to oneself, but to one's passion.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a coach and mentor, you're open to work with anybody. Okay, it doesn't matter the age, the gender, whatever, from professionals or different fields for individuals who are willing to develop their creativity.
Yeah.
Okay? Try new things. We were talking about this before. Try new things and open to make some changes so to live a life that others offer satisfaction and fulfillment. Okay, how did you start?
Oh, yes. I think it's important to talk about the start because whatever you do, you somehow landed there. So there must be some background. You don't just, come out of the womb and say, okay, so I'm a creativity coach.
I'll find my passion,
Yes.
right?
So you need to walk, I think, a path or a journey to be able to get there. And that's what happened to me in a way. I grew up in Hungary during the dark years, we call it, during the regime, the socialistic regime. And
what year was that?
We are talking the 70s and the 80s. That's when I went to school. And I was drawn to art and music very early on. And I did a little bit of that. And but when it was time to choose a profession, it was not suggested that you go for art or music. You either had to be like very, very talented in music, we are talking Liszt or Mozart, or you would rather just do something else, more profitable and something more acceptable. And so I was not supported in doing art or music at all. So I went to study foreign trade and economics, which I was really, really bad at.
How old were you at that point?
14, between 14 and 18. This is when we do secondary school.
Okay.
So that was a hard time. It was really a hard time. But on the other hand, and this is what I tell my clients as well, challenges are opportunities for creativity. And so it really supported me because my frustration in not being able to do what I would have liked to do wanted me or urged me to follow, to try to find something else than what I was supposed to do. It took a while, actually, but I became sort of lucky because after finishing secondary school, I got an opportunity to visit some distant relatives in Mexico. And what was interesting that I found myself drawing all the time. I spent 3 months drawing, and these drawings were fairly dark, I must say. And I didn't even notice actually at first that how much I was drawn to expressing myself. After going back to Hungary, I knew that I would not do foreign trade. And I was just trying to find something that I was at least a little bit close to art, but because it was still not apparent that I would do art or I would do music or something like that. So I studied for being a teacher. And that was a turning point because I learned to speak English very well and I was able to travel more.
Did you learn English in school?
Let's say that I studied English at secondary school, but I didn't learn it really.
Okay, because you speak so well.
All right.
And I'm so impressed, by the way, of how much you know about America and our government. I mean, you really are very worldly.
But I've traveled quite a bit. So after finishing university, I was still kind of lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and so I decided to travel. And so I did. I went to the UK, and that's where I actually got in touch with personal development. What I realized is that I needed to work on myself to be able to know who I am and what I want to do, because I only knew that was all the things that I didn't want to do. This is how I got in touch with doing personal development work and learning about training and coaching and these sort of things. And I started to draw more and more, and eventually I got back to doing music as well. And I started to combine them all into one.
Now,
one
with
piece.
music, when you say music, what do you mean?
Okay, music for me is singing mostly.
Oh,
Yes.
another side of you. I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah. And though I don't sing publicly very much, I'm still kind of shy about it, I think. I sing mostly in Bulgaria. I have a lovely teacher in Bulgaria, and he encourages me to do that.
That's great. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so this is how I started, and how I got into working with creativity and
Encouraging others.
yes, encouraging others as well. I just realized, as I said, by doing that and searching for what is meaningful to me and brings me joy, I went back to art and music and kind of started to combine them into working with people.
So these are your main interests as far as being a mentor and a coach.
Yes, this is the way sort of I support people, because being a life coach or a trainer, you need to approach it from somewhere, and the best is what you've lived, where you come from, rather than trying to figure something out. So that's why there are so many different coaches and trainers, working in different areas or supporting people in different ways. What I try to support people with is to create a life. I believe that we are all co-creators, and we have responsibility in creating our own lives. And the best way to have a fulfilling life is that you commit to what you create, and preferably find your passion.
That's right. It's finding passion in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what age group do you work with?
I work with basically all ages. I prefer working with children and young people from the age of 10 onwards. It's a little bit easier to work with children and young people. As adults, we tend to fight for our limitations, and we try to explain why we live the life we do and not live the life we want to do, and that takes a little bit of work to move beyond the box we usually create for ourselves. And with children are a little bit more open and willing to try new things and play. When we get like adults, we often
Forget how to play.
Yes, and get very serious about stuff. And it takes a little while to sit down on the floor and just start fiddling and drawing something.
We become very inhibited.
Yeah, extremely actually.
What age do you find with kids that starts to kick in what other people think and mold?
Teenage. Yeah, from like 12, 13 onwards. They already show signs from the age of 10, but when it starts kind of really show that they don't want to because that doesn't look cool and that sort of thing, it's like 12, 13.
So what do you offer your clients, and does that change depending on what age they are?
Not really. It's not. It maybe the exercises that we do that sort of change. I offer adults, for example, I mostly offer individual sessions, and that's partly because that's what they want to do. As adults find it a little bit more difficult, as you said, they feel inhibited to work in groups and do funny stuff in groups, so they prefer doing them,
right.
Especially when we talk about professionals who take themselves and their work very seriously. With children, me and my colleagues, we mostly do group sessions. And I'm very happy to hold talks and you know, as we are doing here, a little bit of chatting about what this is all about and how you can get involved and yeah, that sort of things.
And we talked earlier about your work with teachers. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, this is an area I'd love to move into. I haven't started yet. I've inquired about it. Because I'm a teacher originally, I find that it would be lovely if teachers were prepared to work beyond, you know, the mental and the mind stuff of the children. It would be great if they could support students and children in their personal development, sort of, and stand there as an expert themselves. I would say that I would prefer teachers being mentors as well as teachers. So when they work with groups, they could work with what's present for them, support them, look at what they are good at, not just what they are supposed to be good at. You know, these are different things usually. And even get back to the parents with some information that, you know, this is what I think, this is what I see, why don't we work on that? I think we often focus on the things that children are not very good at, so we send them to private teachers to to learn more of that they're not good at, rather than focus on what they are good at, for example. So we a little bit teach them to focus on the things that may not be their future, really. I'm not saying that if, you know, somebody's failing maths, they shouldn't take lessons. But what I'm saying that if somebody shows talents in music besides failing maths, then maybe they could go for both.
And you can learn your math through your music. I mean, there are different modes and methods
Absolutely.
to learn whatever you need.
Yeah, exactly. So this is something that I'm kind of looking at how I could go into maybe teacher training and find a way to learn, to teach teachers different techniques and maybe set up something like little group sections for the kids once a week. I think in the UK they call them like circle times, but they mostly held for little children rather than a little bit older children, and I think that that would be great, especially with from 10 on, you know, when they start looking at what they want to do, what they are good at, that sort of things, and support them.
Well, in a time where so many budgets are being cut, and this art, music being cut and slashed, it's a shame. Where personal development, I think, is one of the most important things that you can teach or encourage. Maybe teach is the wrong word, but to bring out.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I maybe said earlier, creativity is our life. We are creators. And what I'm supporting, or try to support anyway, everybody, is to recognize that we are not meant to live in a treadmill, and most people do. And it's not out of choice, really. This is just how we grow up. And the earlier we get the support to look out what is out there, to see and develop accordingly and try out new things. This is what I find most troubling in a way with people, especially adults, that they talk about many different things, but they never try them. They make decisions upon not knowing what those things are. So here comes creativity, which is partly creative thinking, for example, creating a creative life. I'm not saying that everybody should paint or draw. This is not what creativity is. That's art, which is part of creativity. Creativity is that you think creatively. You sit down and you think beyond what you usually do and try it out. And if that works, hey, go with that. And this is what my work is. Actually, I walk, you know, I accompany people kind of trying out different things. And it's like being a good mother. Are you still all right? Great. You know, I'm still here.
Well, your enthusiasm is infectious. And I think that's so important, to be able to have somebody who's enthusiastic about something and supportive. And always, the glass is a glass and a half full, not half empty.
Yeah. This is the other thing. We are just so used to looking at what's not working in our life that sometimes we don't even notice what works. And it's definitely part of my job to point that out. You know, that was really great. Yeah, it was not perfect, but there is no such thing as perfect. It was creative, though. So yeah, these areas, I think, yeah.
So how would somebody contact you in order to set up? Would they set up a one-on-one? Would they bring you into lecture? I'm not quite sure how we would.
It depends really on who the person is. One way is to approach me individually. I can be found over the internet. If there's a distance between us, we can do Skype sessions, for example. I prefer the meeting personally because I like us doing things together, not just chatting about things. I very much like doing group sessions. I don't like holding lectures just by, standing here and people sitting there and, listening nicely, like in the school. I prefer involvement. Mm-hmm. So even if I had a lecture before I left for the US, and what I really loved about it is that people were sitting there nicely, and then in a second I told them, so, okay, stand up, move around, we're gonna do it together. I'm not gonna tell you anything you don't know, but you will figure it all out. So that's sort of a thing, for example, about holding a lecture. But my favorite is workshops, spending a day really digging in, finding...
So interactive.
Very interactive, yes, finding out lots of information about yourself. Because without, what most people kind of don't get is that you need to find out about your own layers to be able to create the life. You have, like a star out there that you are reaching for, but there are so much stuff in between your little star and yourself. And if you don't look at them and move them around, shake them around a little bit, the star will stay where it is, without you reaching it. So this is something that I kind of support people with, finding this out and reaching for this.
I'll bet you people, when they come out of your lecture, out of your sessions, are very motivated,
energized,
full of energized. That's the word. That's the word. Because just being
so.
around you, your energy is so positive.
Yeah.
It's very infectious. I love it.
I very much hope so. This is part of my job, and I love that because it comes naturally.
And
to
it
me.
shows.
Yeah.
It shows.
Yes. I'm lucky, I think.
Is there anything else that you can tell us right now before we wrap up?
I would just like to encourage everybody who thinks that there's something they want to do differently, or they think that this life is maybe not it, or they want more out of their life, or they don't know what they want, to approach not just me, but other coaches. Ask for support, look for support. I am one of them, and yes, I'm happy to support if I can. But again, I may not be the person who can work with everybody, but I wish that there were more of us, looking into how we can improve our own lives.
Empowering people.
Yes, empowering people.
I mean, to find their passion. My passion, our passion, my friends, it's about animals.
Absolutely.
And luckily, thank God, I've discovered that. And I also, through the ability to have this show, to bring that message to others. But I am very impressed with what you do by encouraging people to look within themselves, not be afraid to try new things, because there's not failure. It's just, if it doesn't work, look a little deeper. But don't let anybody tell you can't do something, because you can do anything you want.
Yes, absolutely. And what I do and what most coaches do, as far as I'm aware, we accompany people. We walk with them while they arrive somewhere. They say, okay, I want to stay here. I want to just be here and find out. And some of my clients come back and they say, okay, I've tried it out. It was really great. Can we go on? Can we do something more of this?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, this is what I would think. If you think that there's more, you feel that is something urging you, then find me over the internet, or find coaches, find people who can support you to have a greater life.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. It's very
My pleasure.
exciting, and I'm very grateful for having met you too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching our show today, and please join us again for the animals.
At dusk, there came a turning. There was a moment when all was known. You could feel beauty rising on the breeze, the shapes, the stone. and I would ride upon the breeze that shapes the stone across the sky and beyond, to that place where all is known. When I could fly, when I could fly down that road.